Welcome to the Spawn Chunks, episode number 21 for Monday, January 7th, 2019. My name is Johnny, but my New Year's resolution is to be more Pixlriffs, and joining me as always is Joel Duggan. Hello Joel, how are you?
Happy New Year, sir. How is it going to you? I'm doing great. Feeling fantastic after being sick for like a week.
Yeah, dude. It's definitely that time of year. Everybody's getting snuffly, everyone's getting head colds and sinus things, and yeah.
I love the holidays. I love food. I like eating. I like visiting with family. But ultimately, there's a lot of sitting around. And I feel like there's a correlation between too much inactivity and getting sick. And I'm a pretty active dude. So when I'm on my butt for a long time, I tend to feel it in the form of either a cold or something. So I caught it. I got rid of it. I was victorious, but never again.
Yeah. If you stay still for long enough, the stuff sneaks up on you. It's like he's resting now. Time to get him.
It's like a cave spider, poison you from behind.
Topical, yes.
So what have you been up to in Minecraft since we last spoke?
Quite a lot, it turns out. Yeah, the survival guide series has kind of taken over my life. I've been trying my best
You're a monster.
Yeah, I've been trying my best to put it out like 5 days a week because I know over Christmas a lot of people have a lot of free time, so it's something people can watch. And I've really been getting into just explaining things. There's something very kind of fulfilling for me about sharing knowledge. A while ago for work, I did like a personality type test thing, and it turns out I was one of those people who really likes to know everything about something and then tell everybody all the stuff I know. There's probably some kind of egotistical thing in there somewhere. But it turns out I've really been enjoying making like these little videos. A lot of the time, they're not particularly expansive in scope. I don't tend to build like an entire village in an afternoon. I'm going in on like very specific details of stuff, which I think is why a lot of them lately have been little redstone projects rather than being, big builds or anything like that. But the whole series has been going very well. And my latest adventures include doing auto-sorted and filtered storage, which is something I've actually never done before, really. I've done little pieces of it here and there. I've used an item filter in like another contraption, but I've never really put together like a chain of hoppers that distributes everything amongst chests and auto-filters it. I've never really used systems like that. I've always gone with like manual sorted stuff. So... Right. Not only was I building that for the first time, I was also having to explain it as though I knew what I was doing, which I think came across pretty well. But
cool.
Yeah, in the
how did the end result go?
It's working. It's working pretty well. And right now I only have it set up for basic building materials, things like stone and granite and everything that I'm going to dig out of the ground in the local area. Right. Because I haven't got an iron farm or anything set up yet, and that's one of the goals I think for January is to do that.
Oh, cool.
But I don't have enough iron to make hoppers to basically make it like all the blocks and items and stuff and all the variations on those. So right now I'm just storing like I've got the basic wood types laid out and I'm storing them in there as logs, but then the manual storage is all of the stuff that I make out of the logs, so all of the planks and trapdoors and stairs and everything like that.
Right. I wish there was a way to sort stuff by type, like.
Yeah, if it was just like all the wood stuff goes in this way. Yeah,
or all the wood types, you could just put them into one area. Like I realize that gets a little bit meta, and it's not really in-game stuff. But it would be. There's probably a mod out there that looks at that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there is. There's definitely stuff that in some of the Sky Factory mods I was working with, there was ways to filter items whether they had enchantments or not, and things like that. You could like ignore NBT data or not. So there was like a lot of stuff you can tinker with there. But yeah, in today's episode, I converted a triple spawner. It's my first time doing a cave spider spawner as well. So that was another cool technical project, but spawners is definitely my wheelhouse. That's the stuff I've been doing since like Decidedly Vanilla Season 2. So I'm pretty keen on those. And I've been doing a little bit of building here and there as well, but lots of little projects. And yeah, the reception for that series has been great. So anybody who's listening to this and also watches the survival guide, thank you so much, because it's definitely given me a lot of energy, a lot of motivation going into the new year for sure.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy the bits that I've seen. I keep on meaning to go back and watch that Redstone one, just because I'm sure it's like both entertaining, but also kind of like cool to look at it from like, I don't want to say a new perspective or a new person's perspective, but like for someone that doesn't build a lot of technical stuff, it would be kind of cool to see how your mind approaches it. Yeah. Because the more that I've played and gotten to know some people, played the game and gotten to know some people in the community, the more I'm realizing is I just happen to watch a lot of technical Minecrafters. Most of the people I run into are builders. Like most of the people out there, they like, what's this magic redstone stuff? They have like
Yes.
zero idea how it works and just don't touch it
Yeah.
ever. I'm like, guys, this this could be so useful.
Yeah.
Like one of the first things I did on the Realm of Vastin when I joined, and there's videos on this, is I put in a bulk sorting system because they're doing some big digs. And it was just like, look, you can fire everything that you mine out of the earth into this chest and water stream, and it'll just all get sorted. And because we're using, a custom pack where andesite and diorite are actually usable blocks, it's important to kind of collect all this kind of stuff because andesite and diorite are more rare than you think.
Yeah.
You feel like you have a lot of it in most of your, single player survival worlds because most people are playing with the default packs and they're not super useful all the time. But it like people on the server, like, I don't even know how you did this, Joel. Like this, I was like, guys, you guys can Minecraft circles around me. How does this is not overly complicated, but I find that kind of stuff so satisfying. And I think that's something that's so cool about doing spawning or spawner farms early in your survival series is that they're probably the simplest redstone project because it's like there's a little bit of redstone for lamps, but mostly it's digging in water, right?
Yeah, a lot of
It's
it is
mostly
more kind of technical and like understanding the
Yeah.
mechanics of that kind of stuff rather than redstone in particular. Because I find that
Yeah.
like circuitry and gadgets and stuff like that can get a little overcomplicated, but I thrive on the technical stuff almost as much as I do the building. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I'm starting to aim towards becoming a bit more of an all-rounder. I always identified as a builder, but now I'm looking at folks like Azuma and Tango Tech, people who are like incredible builders in their own right, but also have a really deep technical knowledge of the game. And so I feel like that's where I'm heading towards lately. Not going to compare myself to these giants of Minecraft just yet, but I think I'm headed in
Yeah.
that direction.
And and then it becomes a creative challenge as well because then you are looking at this technical thing that you've built and you're like, okay, well, this is really ugly. Like now I can put on my builder hat and say, how can I make this contraption that I just made look pretty? And
Exactly.
that's something that I really enjoy about
How can I disguise it and pretend it's not what it
Yeah.
is? Yeah. So how about you? You said you'd been a little bit ill over the holidays. Does that mean Minecraft was off the table for you?
Well, it was off the table in the fact that I had to work over the holidays. I had a sale going on in my publishing company's online store, so I had to monitor that. The typical Boxing Week kind of thing. So I was working half days, but unfortunately, with a head cold, that was about all the time in the studio I could manage. So even though
Sure,
I
yeah.
wanted to play Minecraft, I was just like, ugh, like I need to get out of here.
You just can't
and, like,
concentrate at that point.
lay
yeah.
down, excuse me, or do anything like that. So when I did have time, it was short. It was not long enough to stream. I couldn't stream. This is my problem, is that I really wanted to take advantage of the holidays, people having some downtime, and try to stream more, gather some more, followers on Twitch and engage more with the community. And when you can't talk for 5 seconds without sniffing or coughing, then it really kind of like, God, I would not want to listen to me right now. So I had to not stream. And so I didn't play that much. What I did play was more of the arduous tasks of populating a large sugarcane field purely for aesthetics. We're not going to farm it. It's just for looks. I had started it on some of my streams previously on Twitch, but right now it's just a matter of now filling in the giant hole that I have kind of outlined. Like, this is where the sugarcane farm is going to be, and now it's like I have to actually plan all of it.
Yeah.
We're also expanding. We're expanding the meadows, Dartmouth Meadows on the Citadel south, and so after talking with some people on the Realm of Vastin and some of our frustrations while we've been working there, we've realized that people are just anxious to build, but we don't know where. And everything was sort of like dependent on like where the tree is and where the castle is. And it all kind of goes out like ripples in a pond. And what we were discovering is that we have to sort out where the waterways are and where the roads are. And then people can get creative and like, how can they, squeeze their build into the place where they want to put it. And so that's something I've decided to do on the Citadel. Is like, okay, rather than building, something first and then building a road to it, let's just build a road. Let's just say, like, where would a logical place for a road be? And let's do that. So I've been doing a lot of that, and it's not, I don't want to say it's boring because it's still something that I want to make look good. And I think it's important to kind of take a look at that aspect of Minecraft. It's like some of these big builds that you see, these monstrous cities and stuff, they wouldn't be nearly as good if the roads were not placed in a way that when you go around a corner, it reveals, a farm,
Yeah.
or you go around a cliffside and it reveals the castle that you cannot see before you're around that corner. So there's thought that goes into the roads that I'm trying to articulate in some of the stuff I'm doing. It also means that with shorter play sessions and with not a lot of time, it becomes easy to kind of go in, not have to think about what I'm building. I'm just extending the road and going beyond that. The challenge that I'm going to put forth myself, I've been using path block just because it's easy to mark where it goes, but I do not want to leave these path block. I want to change them to something else because most of the meadows has been path block. So I want to, and it suits it, but I want to expand that to like either stone and gravel or, coarse dirt and wood planks, and just trying to make some, vary it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But really, on both worlds, that's what I've been doing. It's been building roads. It's incredibly satisfying, I have to say. Like, you can put in 40 minutes of time and just, if you're not thinking about the materials, you're not texturing anything, you're just putting down the lines, the width of the road, and the path. And you can get a lot done if you're just head down and going at it, and thinking about curves and stuff.
Yeah. When I dropped into your stream the other day, you were doing a road going towards a village, and it looked like you had some different like coarse dirt textures and stuff as well. So have you started kind of mix and matching some of the texture pack stuff from Vaston and using that in the Citadel now?
Yeah, so what I did was I talked to Germsy Boy, who did the Little Taste of Vaston texture pack that we all use on Vaston, because I do really enjoy it now that I'm getting used to it. There are some things about it that I feel like are only suited for Vaston, in terms of like, a very different texture for diorite, or a very different texture for, I'm trying to think about one thing that you just wouldn't be able to use. For example, like rails are chains and ropes, as opposed to rails, because they don't typically use them, or no, activator rails. So stuff like that is not something I would want to incorporate on the Citadel, because I'm trying to keep it pretty much vanilla.
Yeah, and in the cases that you want to use like modern builds and stuff, Vaston's concrete wouldn't necessarily work out for you because it's a very medieval focused pack, right?
And that's fine, and that's what I mean. So I wanted to have more of a variation happening on the Citadel. So what I did was I talked to Germsy Boy and I asked him, like, look, can I steal some of the textures that I like from your stuff? I'll give you credit on my YouTube videos and whatever. And it's like, as long as that's okay, I don't want to, step on your toes. He's like, no, dude, that's fine. Like, absolutely. So I'm stealing less than I thought. I thought I was going to be like, I like his coarse dirt and I'll just take all of it. And then I realized, like, well, I like it, but I like it on Vaston, and it doesn't necessarily work when you're only bringing in one texture or two textures.
It's not necessarily going to be cohesive with what's already there in default Minecraft.
No.
Yeah.
But I'm learning more coding, and I'm learning a little bit more about how variations work in textures. So you can have like, coarse dirt 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can weight them as to how often you have them prop up. So what I thought I would do is the coarse dirt texture actually has some stones in it, like small, like 5 pixel wide, 4 pixel wide rocks. And what I did was I dialed everything back. So Germsy has got everything everywhere, and it's very cool, but it just didn't jive with the default Minecraft. So what I did was I dialed the weight of things back from like 50 or 60% to like 10 or 15. Mm-hmm. So like out of your 10 blocks, 3 or 4 of them are going to have a couple of stones or a couple of pebbles. And I wanted to do this coarse dirt path stuff, and I just feel like it just adds just a little bit more. I also want to try to get into some overlays, which again makes my game look better, but doesn't break it for other people that aren't using the texture pack. So like if people, eventually when I do a download of the Citadel, people can load it up and it's not going to look like crap. Like it'll still look like the coarse dirt is where it's supposed to be and the path block is where it's supposed to be. In mine, the grass might have a fuzzy edge to it, but it's not really the end of the world. So that's the challenge that I've kind of laid out for myself in terms of the textures and things, is that I want to try and use them, but use them in a way that's like just a personal tweak, and it doesn't really create a barrier for other people. Like I'm not using end stone in my path because I've made it into like, rocks and twigs, or something like that. And then somebody that comes in is like, why is there pink or yellow stone in the middle of your dirt path? So I'm trying to do stuff like that, but mostly I'm just thinking about lines and kind of like the big picture. So right now it's a lot of setup, but I think it'll pay off in the end, because what I'm noticing is that if I go ahead and put the infrastructure, like if you build it, they will come. I've noticed that people are starting to push south and build new things and kind of expand out of like just digging holes, which is great if they're playing. But as you walk around the meadows when everybody's building underground, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
So it's nice to now walk this long north-south running meadow and see like the inn on the bridge and the staircase and then the sugarcane path. And then there's a new church that Matt Cast built. He replaced the church in the village. We had a little Christmas exchange on the server, so most of us were just kind of doing things for Cosmic Dancer, who's new on the Citadel, and so got her a nether portal and built her a church, and I think Alistair dropped off a bunch of torches and like just a bunch of stuff that will make her building easier, and so it's nice to have that kind of refresh happening on the server because. To be honest, the Citadel, much like I think you've expressed about Decidedly Vanilla, was pretty slow this fall. Outside of me, like I'm always playing, but I think a lot of people just had getting ready for Christmas and things are working. But now that the winter is here, I think we're going to see a little bit more activity, which is good.
Yeah, a lot of long dark evenings for people to be playing Minecraft in.
Yeah, although hey, the days are getting longer again.
Finally,
point that out. The clock burning is now past us.
Yes, I didn't get to go to that this year, which is kind of a shame. But
that's too bad.
We were just too busy like packing up and making sure we had everything for our trip north. So another time perhaps. It happens every year, so I'm sure we'll catch it next time. But we should probably move on to the news because we've been chatting about our Minecraft happenings for a little while. Let's take a look at the news. But there isn't really a great deal of news today. We were talking a little bit in the pre-show about this and how. Like when everyone else takes a Christmas holiday, Mojang takes a Christmas holiday as well. So we haven't seen any.
As they should.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's a healthy set of game developers there is like taking adequate breaks, especially over Christmas. So yeah, we haven't had any new snapshots. Dinnerbone has mentioned that Adrian Ostergaard, Adrian _ IVL on Twitter is going to be handling snapshot news this week, if there is any. But we haven't had anything up until we've recorded this show. So we thought we would take a look at something a little bit different and something I meant to bring up in the last episode of 2018. But we ended up dealing mainly with chunk mail and stuff. And that is Hytale. Hytale is... for those of you guys who don't know, the first original game developed by Hypixel Studios, which is a game development offshoot of the Hypixel server, basically the largest and most popular Minecraft minigame server. And I don't have any specific numbers to back that up. Haven't done my research on that one, sadly, but I'm fairly certain Hypixel is the first name anybody thinks of when it comes to minigame servers, especially on Java Edition, but I think they also now have a public server you can join for Bedrock Edition as well. So Hytale is, it's in development, so we've just now seen a trailer for it. They're sort of releasing development blogs on their website about what the game is going to be like, and it looks to many people that it's heavily inspired by Minecraft. It's got that kind of voxel-based aesthetic. Everything is kind of cubey and cartoony, but with strong RPG elements. There's a little bit more character customization in there, and it seems like there are elements like that, essentially what people have been asking from Minecraft for a while, elements of like a modding API built into it. So there are ways of altering character models and enemy models and adding in new weapons for yourself and stuff like that. There are going to be community-based servers. Basically, a lot of people are thinking it's going to be sort of like a competitor to Minecraft, which is a little strange considering that Hypixel has built its success on making Minecraft minigames, but they're actually taking some of those games, putting them into Hytale, reskinning them, and it's not based on Minecraft's engine at all. It's a completely built from the ground up engine as far as I'm aware. So... Right. I've been looking into this. I've been following them on Twitter, and there was an article in Edge magazine, which is kind of the first press coverage of Hytale, that says Hypixel's first original game shows that the Minecraft generation has come of age. And that's the way I've been looking at this, kind of more of a kind of, hey, these people have grown up playing Minecraft, or they kind of established themselves in the gaming space through playing Minecraft. Let's see what they can do next. It feels like more a positive development than looking at it from a competitive angle versus Minecraft, because I think as far as Minecraft goes, it's pretty unkillable. I think considering the amount of players it has, the amount of people it reaches, the amount of platforms it's available on, I don't think Hytale really needs to set itself up as a competitor. There is room for a game like Hytale in the market. So that's what I wanted to say that up front, just because I know a lot of people are going to be, seeing this as a bit of a contentious topic, considering that, it's another blocky game from people who have got a reputation for working with Minecraft and kind of doing fun stuff in Minecraft. For them to suddenly make a game that feels like a competitor is a bit of a weird move, but I don't think that's necessarily their thing. Have you had a chance to take a look at Hytale much?
So I've seen the trailer. I've done a little bit of research just because I enjoy the art style that they're putting out there.
Yeah.
And I recently just watched a video by Hex Regulus, I believe is the YouTuber link. I'll have that in the show notes as well. And what I like so much about that is like much to kind of complement the way that you just kind of introduced the news topic. He takes a very balanced, calm look at the game. He just asks questions and is curious about things. There's so much that we don't know that you can't just kind of like take your, Minecraft killer expectations and throw them on there. And that's what I liked about it so much, and that's why I wanted to promote it, is that because it wasn't a hype video. It wasn't the title of it was like, let's just take a look at Hytale.
Not like, is this Minecraft 2? It's like, guys, it can be a different game. You don't have to imagine everybody is poaching everybody else's territory when they develop games.
Well, I mean, in the gaming industry, everybody's doing it. Like, everybody is trying to get your eyeballs. Even developers. I mean, you take a big developer like Blizzard, when they have World of Warcraft and then they launch something like Heroes of the Storm, they're dividing their own player base as to what game they put attention on. Like, it doesn't matter what game you release, it's always competing for eyeballs, right? So that's always a thing. But what I think is so interesting about this, and I had my own kind of gut reaction to this, and I just bit my tongue because I didn't know enough. But I was like, wow, this looks a lot like Minecraft. And the artist in me and the person that understands, IP and copyright and all that kind of stuff kind of thought to myself, like, how can they get away with this? Like, it looks not just similar, like it looks really similar to Minecraft. And then I realized it's like, well, voxels aren't copywritten. Like,
exactly.
It's a way of making a game. It's not necessarily content. Like, there's no creepers, there's no endermen, there's no, I think they've differentiated themselves from Minecraft to a point where they're like, it's no more Minecraft than, what was that game that you were playing with the dinosaurs? Pixark.
Yeah.
Again, Pixark, Minecraft-esque, only because Minecraft came first. It's very similar to how MMOs are constantly compared to Warcraft, because World of Warcraft was the first big one. It was the first worldwide sensation, and so everybody compares, their MMO to it. Yeah, and that's going to happen. You can't avoid it, right?
And because it's the same kind of mindset that compares any battle royale game that's coming out to either Fortnite or PUBG. It's there are archetypes within this. Like in this industry, and there are stylistic touches within this industry that are kind of unavoidable. Like not every pixel art game is your Stardew Valley or whatever. Exactly. Like not everything is Super Metroid. They can kind of take different stylistic touches from other games without them being heavily kind of copying stuff. Even Minecraft itself started inspired by a game called Infiniminer, which if you look at it, you'd think that looks like a screenshot of a really weird Minecraft clone, but it came first. Right. It's just a stylistic, design, if nothing else.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I've seen the trailer. It looks really cool. I feel like it takes Minecraft to a place logically. I shouldn't say it takes Minecraft. Hytale is taking their game logically to where a lot of places I would like to take Minecraft, but you can't because those capabilities are not there. Like, unless you want to mod it super, super heavily, and I don't have those capabilities. So it's like, you've got different weapons, you've got different mods, the players have elbows. Like, when a player is walking through, I have experience in animation. I used to work in television for like 6 years. So there's a shot in that trailer where there's a person walking with a staff up along a mesa cliffside. Looks like kind of like a Grand Canyon type scene. And like everything from their ankles to their knees to their hips are all animated and moving. And yes, it's blocky and it's fine because that's the aesthetic they're going for, but it looks good. Like the immersion is so much higher because it's not like the little two-leg twitch treadmill thing that you see in a lot of current Minecraft animation, right? So to me, it's like, okay, yeah, that is looking pretty sweet. So it draws me in with the art style. There's a lot of really cool weapons. The mobs, like, here's where the MMO player in me starts to come out. Like, man, like the dragons and the beasts and the trolls and like all these things, still blocky, but it's like you up the resolution of the models. The textures are still pixely, but it has that nice retro vibe. But then it also has like Not. I know that computer is probably going to be having a lot more, capabilities and stuff like that, but it looks like a mobile game on steroids, right? Like it looks like the simplicity that they used to have to do for mobile because that's where the limitations were of the processors. But now they're like, well, if we keep it simple, but make it look really good, then we can make it huge and it's not going to tax your system.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like a lot of players are going to be able to experience this in a great way without having to have the latest, greatest gaming machine. Right.
Yeah, and that's how they're going to reach the same sort of market as a lot of these other games like Minecraft. This kind of like, almost all ages market. So much of that is based on tablet gaming and mobile phone gaming, to the extent where if I look at my YouTube statistics, just looking at how many people have watched my videos, more than half of it is people watching on tablets or mobile phones. I'd say about 75% of it is mobile devices as a broad category. So yeah, they've probably, out of necessity got to make it available for different devices like that in order to reach a wider audience. So the aesthetic is kind of built in that way. But yeah, I'm interested in it. As a content creator, I'm interested in it in much the same way as I am Minecraft Dungeons. It looks like an interesting way to expand into games that are going to hook in the same sort of people that Minecraft does, but with a completely different gameplay focus. And it seems like it's taking on a sort of sandboxy approach, but with more questing and more kind of like, NPC driven stuff like that, which is something that games like Pixark sort of lacked. There were little computers that gave you missions, but there wasn't kind of like, there weren't people to talk to in the world. And, other voxel-based games might have them. I think Cube World was one that was around for a while that has now kind of disappeared a little bit, that had more kind of a questing focus to it and less, landscape changing stuff. So yeah, other games like this exist and are out there and have been tried and tested, and a lot of the time, sometimes they fail, sometimes they stand the test of time and stick around for a little bit longer. It will be interesting to see which way Hytale goes.
Yeah, my concern going into it, again, knowing as much as anybody else knows, because you've got the press releases and you've got the blogs, and that's kind of it. But as far as the gameplay and how they separate that out, a lot of the questions that Hex Regulus brought up in his YouTube video, or the same questions that I had, was like, well, cool that you can build in this world, but can you build while you're playing adventure, or are they separate?
Yeah. Is it like a kind of building creative mode sort of thing that's separate from whatever survival RPG style thing they have going on?
And hey, I mean, that's fine. I mean, if it's a creative mode where you can go in and build an entire adventure map as like huge adventure maps, and then release that to friends or public, or have it on your server, then like that's cool. And that's going to have a very specific audience. If you cannot build while you're in adventure mode, or you can't break blocks, then I think like, well, your fears of attaching or attacking the Minecraft base is probably nil, because you're not on the same field. It's a similar looking game, but it's a different gameplay. And there's there's a mention of minigame stuff, which I know nothing about. Minigames are just things that I have not gotten into in Minecraft, mainly because I don't find the controls and moving around and doing that kind of gameplay in Minecraft to be easy. Call me old, whatever you want. But I just, for example, like parkour in Minecraft in first person, no. Put me in front of like a Mario side scroller, I'm there. But like the jumping from platform to platform in Minecraft, forget it. It's not, to me, it was never meant to do that. So it doesn't seem like it's the best way to utilize, quote, waste my time. Trying to complete that kind of stuff. But in some of the trailer in the Hightail stuff, there's what looks like a much better third person view, similar to like those games like, trying to think about something that I've played on like a PlayStation. Maybe, I mean, it's more of an adult game, but like, Assassin's Creed, when you've got that third person kind of like sort of behind. Yeah,
it's like the over the shoulder kind of.
Over the shoulder, thank you. Yeah. That to me is a better way of dealing with something like sword fighting a mob, or doing those kind of situations where you're going through an adventure map and maybe you have to avoid traps or trapdoors or arrows and things like that.
Because you're not having to look down at your feet all the time.
Exactly. You don't have that camera over the shoulder thing in Minecraft right now. So I feel like if they've got that, it's like, oh, sweet, I can build first person because I'm a Minecraft player and I'm used to that. But when I have to deal with a troll, one button and I can switch to, over the shoulder mode, and then it becomes like I can dodge and I can weave and I can see where this guy's, throwing his sword, and like that could be really fun. I've been itching for a game like this to play for a long time. And like right now, Minecraft has got my attention, but like I don't have like that adventure kind of like what's around every corner. If it's open world, like say an MMO, and you've got like that kind of world generation happening, like man, like it could be a really, really cool opportunity for Hightail. I don't know how thin they're spreading themselves. Like it seems like it does a little bit of everything, and in my experience, games that do that tend to flounder. Like they start off hot because everybody knows what they want and they can get in there, but then after a while, it's just like, well, it tries to do too much, and they don't do it. Either they don't do one thing well enough to kind of really get their nails into players.
Yeah.
So I'm not, and again, I'm not saying that about Hytale. I'm saying like, well, that could be a concern because like I have seen everything in this trailer from headphones and modern stuff to it looks like a lot of the adventure mode looks like it might be medieval, but then you've also got like space guns and stuff. But like I don't know how much of that is modding and what different modes that's in. So again, I can't speak to it, but it's really it's really broad. It seems to me from the outside to lack focus, but we know so little, it's hard to say.
Yeah, exactly. And it has yet to be seen whether or not it has the kind of X factor thing that Minecraft has, where it's just got something right about it, and it becomes that kind of like, you know, almost household name kind of experience for everybody. It'll be interesting to see. And considering it's their first game, you know, they have a little bit of license to get stuff wrong, but they've really got to stick the landing on some of this stuff. So the fact
also beta.
Yes, exactly. And they've got a you know, the potential to generate a lot of hype right now because they're known within the Minecraft community, but it remains to be seen if they will do anything kind of innovative with it. It looks like they have, but we'll see how the gameplay works out.
And I hope it does. Like competition is always good for players, right? I mean, like when games are doing these kind of things, it just means that everybody across the spectrum has to up their game.
Absolutely, yeah. And there is room for competition, I feel like. So hopefully it's gonna generate something healthy. And thinking of generating things and the generated landscapes we were talking about, I wanted to briefly touch on this. It's not so much news as something I found really cool from the community this week. And this is actually something I want to start doing a little bit more of in this in the podcast, is just talking about fun stuff that we found each week. Maybe we can kind of like each bring something to the table where we found something cool from the community if we've got the time to browse that week. But this is from MC Pittman, the guy who made Biome Bundle, is working on a new terrain mod. And he posted a thing on Reddit. I've linked it in the show notes. And he's just posted a screenshot saying this is the result of the last 12 months I've spent revamping terrain generation to look more like a generated landscape than a bunch of individual biomes. That's a direct quote from the title of this Reddit post, because evidently the guy cares a whole lot about it. And yeah, like the screenshot he posted is beautiful. It's a lovely kind of like sweeping forest landscape with rivers flowing through it and mountains in the distance, a bunch of different types of trees, different leaf colors and stuff like that. The kind of stuff that we've seen happen in Biome Bundle before, but it definitely does look like this is all automatically generated. It's not been sculpted in any way by hand, other than the stuff that presumably he's had to build from scratch, like the trees are kind of elements that just get dropped in. But it's really pretty looking, and I kind of had mixed thoughts about this because I love Biome Bundle and I think it's great and this looks fantastic, but a lot of people were saying that, you know, for a start, the guy should be hired by Mojang, and, you know, maybe he should be, but I feel like a lot of people who are calling for this to kind of be the way Minecraft terrain is generated naturally, I disagreed with. And I mentioned this on Twitter, so anyone who follows me on Twitter has probably heard this little rant already, but I kind of disagree that default Minecraft world should look like that, because I feel like default Minecraft should be kind of the closest to a blank canvas you can get. It kind of encourages players to shape the world around them. Like looking at MC Pittman's screenshot, it looks absolutely beautiful, and I would not want to touch a block. And I think that's a bad thing. About stuff like this. It's like adding to somebody else's painting, is how I put it on Twitter. Like you've got this beautiful thing around you, and yes, you can build, like, I would want to build like a log cabin. I would build all kinds of log cabins in this landscape, but then I would want to change some stuff around it, and then I would be altering this thing that already looked kind of beautiful, and I'd be scared about messing it up. And I feel like default Minecraft shouldn't intimidate you into leaving the landscape as you found it. It should hint at like what's possible, but then leave it in the hands of the player to make that a reality. And I ended this kind of whole thing on Twitter by saying default Minecraft should not be perfect. And I feel like that's potentially something that where games like Hytale or mods like this kind of miss out on the core thing about Minecraft is that everything is editable, should be editable, and while the game can contain some fascination, you can always create something better. And so I'm kind of interested to see, like, obviously if people just want an adventure environment, if they want something like that to play in, then stuff like this absolutely knocks it out of the park. And I have to say that I am still very impressed by folks like MC Pittman, the whole kind of modding community, and landscapers in general for what they do to make Minecraft look like this, because it does look absolutely incredible. But I'm just interested in what you think about how that affects your experience of Minecraft if the thing you generate in is this beautiful forest instead of just a flat plain with kind of, bits of grass everywhere and some mountains in the distance.
So, I mean, you're right. It looks phenomenal. I think for me, I land somewhere in between, where I agree that I have a problem with cutting down a forest in Minecraft now.
Yeah.
So, and there's a couple of clips from an old build that I posted on YouTube a long time ago, and it was like that. I was harvesting spruce, but I was planting and harvesting my own as opposed to cutting down the forest that was right there. Like
yeah.
I didn't have to wait for saplings. I could go clear cut if I wanted to, but I just didn't want to. And that, I mean, I'm a green person anyway, so that's just kind of like my mentality. So I know that I would have the same problem where it's like I need wood, but I don't want to cut down that tree. That's really pretty, I would have that issue. However, if I knew that if I cut down that tree and then planted the sapling and the game would generate another tree that would look similar to that, of that quality, I would be less, heartbroken about destroying the landscape. But I do think that it does, like something like this, this image, and we'll have this in the show notes, does, like you say, push you to the other way, or like you don't want to build in that area. Like it's like when you go for a hike. When you go for a hike, you don't walk around going, this would look really good as a parking lot.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I really wish they not cross your mind.
I really wish they built more houses up on this lovely mountain.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that I think is definitely a problem. However, what I wish they would do would be for Mojang to make it easier for this kind of thing to be possible. So if you wanted to play the game like this, and rather than having it be a mod he spent 7 years working on that probably only works in 1.12 at the moment. Forge I know is coming for 1.13, but like there's no timeline on that. Mm-hmm. So you're always having to deal with this choice of like, do I play an old version of the game to have it look the way that I want, or do I play the new version of the game, have it look like default Minecraft, and I have to then, because I want to use the new mechanics or the new features. So I feel like if Mojang made it easier for these kind of things to be implemented into the game, then I think that would be a benefit to all. However, in terms of just the default Minecraft, I feel like something that does take me out of Minecraft and out of the default, I guess, wow of exploring the world is when things in Minecraft are generated like mountains and floating things and like really odd looking stuff.
Yeah.
Like seeing this mountain in the back of this image doesn't make me not want to build stuff. It makes me want to build stuff with that mountain in the background.
Yeah.
And in Minecraft, I don't do that because that is a tedious survival thing that you'd have to build on your own. And I don't find that appealing.
Yeah.
Even if I had all the time in the world, I don't think I'd want to build a custom mountain like that because it's just like it would just be monotonous. Pardon the pun. And so I think that is something that they could pick up from things like this, like, how maybe not all the foliage and how pretty it all is, but even if you just strip all that away and just look at the topographical terrain generation, if Minecraft looked more like that, I think that it would be a nice balance between like, well, there's not these weird fissures and odd floating blocks and things, but there's a lot of potential to put things and nestle your builds and nestle your castles into the mountainside, or build this cool bridge that doesn't cut across an odd looking chasm but cuts across a beautiful Grand Canyon, or that kind of thing. I think there's a balance between the two. And then the people that want to build in a place like this, if the mod was available, or if this kind of terrain generation was easily accessible by vanilla Minecraft players, then I think that people could just play as they do now. They would just play how they want.
Yeah, I think my main thing looking at this, and it's something that I've said about vanilla Minecraft before, is I really wish vanilla Minecraft got rivers right and actually had rivers that change elevation rather than having them all be at sea level and be flat.
Yes.
And I get that like flowing water does look kind of awkward when you automatically generate it in Minecraft, and sometimes if you generate a water source then it doesn't immediately flow. Like we've all come across those occasional floating water sources that just haven't updated yet, and so they don't start flowing and they just look like a single block of water in the world, and it's really weird. And I imagine that would be the case when it came to rivers and stuff, unless they revised the way the game's code worked, which might break other things in the code for all I know. But I would love it if rivers changed elevation and actually flowed down from the mountains to the sea in the way they do in the real world. And I feel like that's something that maybe they've done in this mod, or maybe it's just like this particular river looks like it's more naturally generated with kind of river banks and everything and stones generating in the rivers and so forth. But it's one of the things that breaks my immersion when it comes to imagining Minecraft as a realistic world, which clearly it's not, but that lends some kind of authenticity to you trying to build realistically. So yeah, there's some little things like that I would add. But yeah, I'm happy with these being separate experiences for now. I'm happy with this being a mod and default Minecraft being what it is. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see once this mod gets finished what it's like. If it's kind of similar to Biome Bundle in terms of its different biomes, the areas that it can generate being different and how they blend. Because one of the fun things about Minecraft is that, yes, you can have a mesa next to an ice spikes and somehow they coexist. But we'll see what MC Pittman is capable of. Let's move on to chunk mail, because despite the fact that we cleared out our chunk mail inbox in the last episode of 2018, we have had some more mail, and I think you've got a couple of things that you wanted us to read.
The first one comes from Thomas Dragflash, excuse me. Minecraft names, there's always a challenge. Thomas Dragflash. Dear Spawn Chunk Loaders, cool address. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Hong Kong, which is also very cool. I have been listening to your podcast since Johnny advertised it on the Hermitcraft Recap and this New Year episode. I really enjoyed listening to you chatting about Minecraft while I play, or even just on my way to work. I was watching one of Exumavoid's snapshot videos, the one about the last snapshot for 2018, which I believe is 18W50A, if I'm not correct. And included all the new villager skins and the little belt buckle things that represent trading levels. For some reason, this reminded me of Tangotech's Better Villagers mod, which he designed himself. What do you think of the new villagers? Should they stay as farmable, fragile trading stations that they are currently, or be more like the player in certain mods? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. I hope that no matter what happens, that villagers will continue to be a part of the game for better or worse. T. Thanks so much for the very thoughtful email, T. Very, very cool. I can just say that I'm okay with villagers not getting too overly complicated. However, I think it would be a little bit more interesting and a little bit less frustrating if their movement was not so random. Like if there was a mining villager that you knew was going to be going back and forth to a mine, or a farming villager that you knew was going to be going back and forth to a farmland from their homestead or whatever, if they had kind of built-in paths. Because not only would it be cooler to see and a little bit more immersive, but also I think it would introduce more mechanics in the game to exploit and control for the technical players. So if you have a villager that always wants to get to a farm, and you want him to either get there or not get there, if you can control his path, maybe have him walk over a trap, a trap door or a pressure plate or something, then you could have a villager controlling other things, and it's purely going to be on the day-night cycle as to or the farm cycle as to when he harvests crops. He's also going to, call for a minecart that's going to collect those crops, or fun stuff that you could hook to villager AI. And I think that a more improved version of that would be really cool. But other than that, I don't know enough about the workings of villagers and all that kind of stuff, like, say, Tangotech and Exumavoid, to really voice a detailed opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm still holding out for them potentially having some sort of interaction with these new blocks, like the grindstone and the barrels and so forth. Like, if it turns out that a blacksmith always goes back to a blast furnace at the end of the day, then that's perfect for me, because that's, again, like you said, something that you can exploit and control. And call me boring if you like, but I do like villagers as just a trading opportunity. I like them to have a little bit less agency over their surroundings. Because, say, imagine like you have a lumberjack villager. That villager actually goes and actively seeks out wood to chop down, and somehow it manages to ignore stuff that is placed naturally as part of the village, like those wood borders that you get around farms. Like, I can imagine a villager that's programmed to seek out wood logs and chop them down, just destroying a farm while the farmer looks on aghast. But imagine the same thing happening if you wanted to build something new next to the village, and then suddenly this miner villager had come along and taken away all your cobblestone blocks from the house you were trying to build. There are ups and downs to all this kind of stuff, and it's probably something that with a little bit of extra coding and some more intelligent look at the game design, you could probably prevent them from doing stuff like if you tagged everything with this was placed by a player, don't touch it, then yeah, potentially that could be the case. But then you have to do that in the code, and how much does that complicate things? I think I like villagers the way they are now. I'm open to seeing what Mojang has to do with villagers. Like, they still plan on overhauling trading and making the AI more intelligent. None of that has happened yet. They've just had a costume change. So the first part of 2019 is going to be interesting when it comes to seeing what they're planning on doing with villagers next. And I think until then, I'm probably going to reserve my opinion because I like the idea of having villagers be more like kind of NPCs and quest givers and stuff, but the mods I've seen do that get a little bit irritating. The villagers kind of follow you around, they kind of spam the chat with text when they're trying to talk to you. Nobody has quite got it right yet. I think Tango is probably the closest so far, but I don't know if anybody has really got something that I'd be interested in implementing in my own world as far as mods go quite yet. But then I'm a stickler for default Minecraft anyway, so that's my kind of cup of tea.
I know that Mojang would never do it, but I do like the idea of if you had a lumberjack villager, if part of his UI would be to aim him at a certain set of blocks, like you click on the target, icon, and then you place it on the ground, and he only harvests trees from that, 8x8 or 16x16 block, and maybe that gets larger as you upgrade the villager, stuff like that. But that gets into automation that I know that the Mojang won't do, because they want the player to do all the mining. They don't want, block breaking is not an automated thing.
Yes, yeah.
There's very few things that you can automate in terms of creating blocks, but most of the time it involves collecting block parts, like say prismarine, and then you still have to assemble the stuff yourself. You have to have a squid farm and a guardian farm to make dark prismarine or black. Is it dark prismarine? Dark prismarine. Yeah,
that kind of thing.
So that sort of thing. So there still has to be some sort of player interaction. You can't get to the absolute end product fully automatically. However, that said, I feel like there could be some fun like trades with villagers, where as opposed to just getting emeralds or that kind of thing, if you could start to trade blocks, like, maybe you're in a place where your mesa is really hard to find or really far, or maybe you don't have one. But if you had a villager that would trade you terracotta for a huge amount of X, whether it's wood or stone or something, you still have to go grind. Like, you still have to go get a chest full of this stuff. But if you could trade a stack of stone for half a stack of terracotta, that might be worth, not having to travel 8,000 blocks to a mesa. That kind of thing I think would be interesting, and not necessarily break kind of Mojang's, I guess, mission statement of, like, player interaction with the world and one for one sort of thing. So that could be kind of cool, but that just plays on the stuff about trading that we don't know.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on, we got another email here. There's more of a tip from LJM Decker, who said, "Hey, Joel and Pixlriffs, I wanted to tell you something I learned from a Stampy video about the Ender Dragon fight. When you try and get the caged end crystals, mine out an iron bar, throw an ender pearl, and then break the crystal, because if you fall off, you don't end up dying of full damage. You just end up ender pearling to another location. I enjoy your podcast and keep doing a great job." So thanks for the tip. It was cool getting a lot of people having feedback about our Ender Dragon episode, because we had the email from Bexy in the Junk Mail episode about how their team kind of faced off against the dragon. So yeah, always good to get new tips. It's not one I'd thought of, because when I first fight the dragon, I've usually used up all of my ender pearls just like opening the portal to the end. And after that, when I come back and do the Ender Dragon fight a bunch more times, it's a bit more of a clinical process. I've got my kind of patterns down. I've got ladders already built up most of the towers. So I just need to add in the few blocks to the top where it kind of explodes and so forth. So yeah, how about you? Have you used this trick before?
I haven't, but it just reminded me that I don't use ender pearls as often as I should.
Yeah.
I've got these towers now that are in the end that I use with our other server mates to fight the dragon, and I could probably ender pearl back and forth, from tower to tower, or from one caged crystal to the other caged crystal if I had a decent enough shot. Something that's worth noting in the end is that if your Ender Pearl does not impact something, then you don't teleport into the void. So if you throw one off a cliff, nothing happens. It has to actually hit something. So that's cool. I mean, you could Ender Pearl into an Enderman, which would be bad.
Yeah, not so good there.
So, but yeah, like it just reminded me, like, yeah, that's a really good point of like the damage that you take from an Ender Pearl would be far less than the damage that you take from falling off a very tall obsidian pillar in that fight. I even just reminded myself, I was like, when I go to harvest trees and I do those 2 tall spruce trees, there's an old trick where you throw an ender pearl up and then you bone meal spruce saplings in a 2x2 area, and then when the tree grows, your ender pearl hits it on the way back down, and you
just
end up on top of the tree. Yeah. And I mean, I always forget about that, and it's something that I did for a little bit over one of the things I was doing over the holidays was a little bit of grind work and just sitting there and harvesting some trees. And I was like, man, I forgot how cool this is. Like, it's not. It's not groundbreaking, but it's when you forget that it's something that you can do with ender pearls, you're like, oh yeah, this is actually a much more fun way to just grind through trees.
It's like a trick shot kind of thing as well. You're just like, watch this, hup, and then
exactly.
Spawn a tree in front of you, and immediately you're on top of it. It's fun.
So yeah, ender pearls. I think if anybody has any other really unique ways that they use ender pearls in their Minecraft play, then let us know, because I'm curious now.
Etho, in some of his earlier videos, used ender pearls as like a transition. So like he would make a cut right as he threw an ender pearl, and then when he landed, he would be somewhere else. And I like that as a concept. Like as far as transitioning from video to video, you can do some flashy editing stuff with that. But
I did that once, I think in my latest Vastin video, or one of my latest Vastin videos, where I threw an ender pearl just because there was a couple of creepers coming towards me. I was like, nope, see ya, bye.
I'm gone.
I cut to the other location when it landed.
Nice.
Yeah, that's always fun, especially if you can leave that little like pitch noise that it makes when it hits. If you can kind of edit that sound so that it overlaps the next clip, it can be kind of really, really interesting. But yeah, that's cool.
So moving on to our discussion topic for this week, we're going to keep this relatively short because, as usual, we've spent a little while catching up. It's been a few weeks since we've actually chatted to each other, so it's been nice to just chat. And one of the things we wanted to chat about is what we have plans for in Minecraft in 2019. New Year's is kind of time when everyone wants to make a fresh start, and sometimes that includes Minecraft worlds. I imagine there are people out there who start a new Minecraft world January 1st of the new year and then see what they can do in a year, and that might be kind of a fun project now that I talk about it. So maybe I'll look into doing that, but I'll have to wait until next year to start it, so I'll have to write that one down. But anyway, everyone likes to make a fresh start in Minecraft every now and again, and we wanted to talk a little bit about why, and is there a way to do the fresh start kind of feeling without losing all of that hard work on a world, which I think is something you guys can speak to on the Vastin server, considering that that's Fixit's ethos with making everything in one world, but just kind of moving to a new area. Also, what are our goals for Minecraft this year, and what are we looking forward to? How about we start with that?
Well, from a broad sense, because we did mention quite a bit about Hightail and the news, I am looking forward to Minecraft Dungeons. Because that, I believe, is coming out in 2019. And so that I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. An additional game to play on Twitch, something to talk with the community about. More news for this show. I'm not going to complain about that either.
Absolutely.
So I'm optimistically curious about that game. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to seeing what changes they do actually make in 1.14. We do a lot of speculation about Minecraft and snapshots and stuff on the Spawn Chunks. And when I look ahead to Minecraft, I can't say that I'm excited. I don't necessarily think that the changes that they're making to Minecraft in 1.14 are as exciting as, say, 1.13 was. But I'm curious. I'm curious to see how much they're going to listen to the community. I'm curious to see how much they've not told us, because that seems to be part of the course where they talk about all this other kind of stuff. And when then we release a snapshot, like one of the coolest things that's in it, it's like, you didn't mention this at all.
Yes, exactly.
Like the new crafting blocks, like, so stuff like that. I'm curious to see what's around the corner there and how that's going to affect my plans for 2019. Personally, I mentioned this on my stream yesterday and got a little bit of an overview on it. So if you're curious about that, stay tuned for either the VOD on Twitch, or I'll be posting it on YouTube as well. But taking lessons that I picked up from playing on Vastin, and from watching a little bit of Vintage Beef's server setup and how cool his setup is for his Patreon thing. I'm taking some inspiration from both of those and combining them into something for the Citadel where I don't want to reset the Citadel. The longer that we've played, and whenever I enter into a realm or find myself far away from, our main hub, I get frustrated when I run out of stuff. It's like, oh God, how am I out of stone? Like, I don't want to go mine more when I know I've got double chest upon double chest of this stuff back at certain bases. So rather than resetting the world, but still wanting that fresh new landscape feel, I thought that what we would do was take the center of the overworld in the Citadel is marked at 1-1, like X1, Z1. And there's nothing there but another portal. Like I found it. I thought it would be cool to stick a obsidian pillar on it and be like, yeah, cool, there's a spot. But now I have an idea about what to do with it. And on Vastin, they use boats and fast travel to move many thousands of blocks away and have these kingdoms be set up and be very far from one another. But in doing that, they don't lose all their infrastructure. You can still go to the end to repair your gear in a few minutes. Like you can still, if you need blaze rods, you can go find the blaze farm and go get them. Like you're not starting at ground one. You have access to so many materials, which means it takes that early game grind out of Minecraft. And if you don't enjoy that, if you just want to build, then you can just go at it. And seeing how quickly this new kingdom in Vastin is coming together, even over the holidays when people weren't playing very much, it's really kind of a testament to how well that system works when you are a group of players that does not want to reset the world, but wants to create something new. So on the Citadel, I'm going to be learning more about command blocks and the capabilities that are in vanilla Minecraft, maybe not default, but things that are in the game that I can access. I want to create some player-generated portals or mechanisms to explain how you're getting from one place to another. And I want to create different areas on the server that are designated as futuristic, or you've traveled in time to the year 3012, or I know it's kind of cliche, but I've not done a medieval, fantasy world outside of Vastin, but like I've not done one of my own. I've not done one on the Citadel. MacCast on the Citadel wants to do a steampunk, area. And what we could do is build those far enough away that they are never going to overlap. You're not going to run into having your steampunk next to your, futuristic world and break that kind of level of immersion. But the fast travel means that you can always go back to the Dartmouth Meadows. You can always get back to the Ender and, the different farms that we have. So you're not going to be sore for materials. If you die, you can get back up and geared up, no problem. You can get more elytra, that sort of thing. And I think the combination of playing on Vastin with custom recipes, custom texture packs, and what's the word I'm looking for? The data packs. Like trying to learn more about that kind of stuff, and I don't want to say exploit it, but incorporate it into the Citadel. And that's kind of where my head is at for the Citadel. It's going to be a bigger project, but it's not something I have to accomplish in 2019. It's more like, this is going to be a fun thing to get going and just kind of see where it lands. Have 4 to 8 different portals at this main hub, have them take you to different places, and have the quote unquote lore be similar to like, DC's multiverse or, traveling through space time or something. Just enough to have like, I'm on the Citadel server, but I'm going to be building in the Darklands. And I don't know what that means, but it means that nothing that I've built in the Citadel has to matter. I can even have a custom texture pack. Like maybe everything is dark and spooky like Tim Burton, and it's just going to be a fun area to build in like once a year in Halloween. I don't know. But we're kind of discussing it as a community and kind of seeing where we're going to go from there. And that kind of leads me into my other artistic thing that's tied into Minecraft is I'd like to get better with texture packs. I won't talk about it too much because I talked about it at the top of the show, but I'd like to start developing my knowledge of texture packs and how they work and having some fun with some pixel art. And if you are in the futuristic world, then there's no real need for something like a cauldron or a torch. Whereas, if you're in a medieval world, there's no need for an end rod. So I might be able to come up with some cooler things to replace those. Not for when you're in the meadows, but like specifically this is a texture pack for when you go through, the 3012 portal. I don't know. It's all kind of up in the air, but it's exciting. What about you? What are your plans for 2019?
I would love to for a start, I'd love to keep the Minecraft Survival Guide world consistent just for the sake of the series itself, but I would love to have a persistent world that I play in all the way through the year. Like, I've played on multiplayer servers and stuff like that, but I've never really kept a single player world going for this long. And it's it seems silly to say that because the Minecraft Survival Guide world has only been around for like a couple of months now, but my single player worlds are always, aside from the ones that I played on Xbox where I didn't really have any alternative, they're always either creative test worlds or they're a project that I get stuck into for a couple of months and then I kind of ditch it because I'm having more fun playing on a multiplayer server and I miss that interaction again. Now I've got the kind of motivation of making this a series to explain Minecraft to people who've never played or revise people's, already stuff they've already learned about Minecraft, then I feel like that has legs now in a way that my previous single player worlds have not. So I'd love to stay consistent with it throughout the year, playing it, every week and build that up to the level of, the kind of worlds that I see people like Fwip and BOO and Etho playing when they've got these, large expansive kingdoms in their worlds, different projects that they kind of hop back and forth and work on. And I'd like to take on some projects that I've never tried before. I know the theory behind a lot of them, but some of them I've never actually built. Like an iron farm, for example. Like a lot of people have been just telling me to build an iron farm basically as soon as I encountered villagers. And I was like, slow down a little, guys. But I've never built one before. Even though I know how to do it, it's just something that has never been my priority on a multiplayer server because there are other technical players who've got it up and running much faster than I would, whereas I'm already kind of building up my base and so forth at that point. Likewise, a witch farm. I've never built anything like that. And it's the kind of stuff that I would either work through experimenting with stuff myself in my own time or find a tutorial for and then go heavily into crediting that person for the tutorial because some of that stuff I feel like is still outside of my comfort zone when it comes to, knowledge of technical projects. So I'd like to do a little bit more of that. I'd like to actually build a castle for once. Because despite Minecraft being the ideal game to build castles in, I've still never done it. And I think it's because I've always thought they were cliche, and I built like a castle keep for my One Chunk build series and that kind of stuff. But I want to build a castle town this time. I've got this big area of a plains kind of near my farming area that I think is going to be the ideal place for something like that. And I really want to get stuck into a large build project. I have some really great tutorial kind of guides that I've saved from Reddit posts about using negative space when you're building a city and how there can be like little stuff stuck down alleyways that you'd never notice normally if you're just running down the main street, but off to these different sides you'll find other little interesting things and ways to make a city feel like really lived in. I feel like a lot of the stuff I've built before has just been a collection of buildings rather than feeling like a coherent city, and so that's the kind of skill set I want to develop this year. And nice. As far as making fresh starts go, this feels like my fresh start. It's a world I've started from scratch in default. I just kind of went with the seed that I was given. I didn't look into seeds beforehand, and to be honest, if I did, I would probably find one where the mesa was a little bit closer. But I think it's nice to have that kind of new server smell, that new world smell for a little bit. But after a while, that kind of becomes like that either becomes what you live for in Minecraft. You either do the early game grind a whole bunch because that's what you like, and then when it gets to end game you find it gets stale and you give up. You've beaten the dragon, that's kind of it for you. You move on, you reset. Or for folks like me, the end game is the game. Like we like to build once we've done all of the quote unquote objectives in Minecraft. We like to see what's possible after that. And I feel like there is so much to explore. I've beaten the Ender Dragon, 25 episodes ago in my series at this point. It's time to just explore everything else in the game. So, yeah, as far as fresh starts go, I've had my share of them for now, and I think I'm okay sticking around in this world for the year. Once 1.14 comes out, I'm not going to reset Survival Guide, but we might end up resetting Decidedly Vanilla, depending on how people are feeling about the current world. So there may be a fresh start for me there, but it's always going to put you closer to the newer content when it comes to that stuff. Especially on DV, where we've chosen a seed that was surrounded by ocean to begin with. That was kind of the point, so that we could access all of the stuff 1.13 had just introduced. Now everybody's used to that. It's time for 1.14 to put us closer to a taiga, where we're going to have campfires and foxes and things, or put us close to a pillager watchtower or a village or something that we can interact with like that once we know what all of the mechanics are, so we know what we want to be closest to. And that's the exciting thing about a fresh start, is having access to that newer content, which is why everyone resets whenever a new version comes out.
Yeah, and something worth noting too is that if you are gonna do something like I'm doing with the Citadel, and you're gonna as a player you're gonna teleport 10,000 blocks away. Not that I have to, but that's just to use an arbitrary number.
Yeah,
I've been going around on a Java app called Amidst, I think.
Yeah.
And looking for specific biomes where like, okay, well, if I want to do a medieval build, maybe I want to do it in a large like frost plains, ice mountain biome. So I've been looking for them, and I found a couple of really big ones to the point where like render distance would not exceed the biome. Like
yeah, you can't see from end to end. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be anywhere, and this was just going to look like a Viking town, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been looking for that kind of stuff, and to that end, like you can use that as the fresh start and control it a little bit more without having to do that giant reset. And because you're teleporting that far, those chunks have never been loaded. So even if you teleport in now and update to 1.14 later, if you haven't walked that far, then anything outside of that biome is potentially going to be generated with 1.14.
Yes. Yeah. So you'll find those
yeah.
new villages and all those kind of fancy new features.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did when it was a little bit drawn out because of how long it took for 1.13 to drop. But once we heard about 1.13 and we knew that we hadn't explored a great deal in one of our directions, I think it was west, we thought, well, let's just not go too far. Let's just wait. And that way, when we did find a coral reef, it wasn't, 10,000 blocks away. It was only, 1,000 blocks away, which in the Nether is nothing. So that really benefited our rollover from 1.12 to 1.13, because for those people that are new to the spawn chunks that don't know, we didn't reset the Citadel when 1.13 came out. So I don't ever intend on resetting the Citadel. I like the idea of going forward. I wish that I would love to have the time for a single player game. Part of me, I'm kind of thankful I don't have one because I would probably spend too much time in it. But I really enjoy the interaction on some of the multiplayer stuff that I do on the Citadel. I do also find it's an excellent exercise for me personally with just letting go. Like, when someone builds something or something happens, if you're building this road and then someone builds a house in the way, you're like, well, now I have to figure out how to build the road around it.
You release that control. You don't have to feel such a tight level of kind of perfectionism over everything.
Exactly. And it goes the other way too, because I play a lot on the server and I find that a lot of people end up asking me like, can I build here? Can I build here? And the answer is like, yes.
Yes, do that.
If someone doesn't have a flag in the ground, then yeah, absolutely. And so I want to encourage that because it's an excellent exercise as an artist and as a, just even as a person to kind of, cooperate and work with other people and all that kind of stuff. But I'm curious with your survival guide, is there any kind of theme? Is there any kind of lore that you want to keep in mind as you push forward? Because if this is going to be a quote unquote forever world, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if this is going to be something that you don't reset with 1.14, are you going to give yourself like a set of guidelines that make sense as to the castle and the city next to your, original Minecraft house?
It's not something I've worked out yet, but it's a concept I've introduced in the series quite early, is think about the story that your world is telling as you build stuff. So the wheat field and the farm that I've got set up right now has a kind of story to it, even if the story is just, hey, this is this one guy who's been maintaining this wheat field for a long time and he is the keeper of this farm. So the district I've got all of my farms and stuff in is going to be more of an industrial thing, and I was thinking about the placement of everything and where I wanted the main city to be and having that be further away from the farm, because the castle isn't going to be right by the farm because they, the lords who live in the castle don't want to be associated with the peasantry who work the land. And so stuff like that is going to go into it. And I'm going to try and keep it open-ended, more so to inspire the people who are watching the series than to necessarily be telling my own story, because I don't want people to imagine that that's the only story they can tell. But I think when it transforms a little bit more into like, okay, I've told you everything I really know other than introducing you to new features in the updates, so this is my world now. If that ever happens, which I'm not certain that it will, but if it does, I think that's the point at which I'm going to start introducing more lore elements. But that is probably hundreds of episodes down the line at this point, because there's a lot to teach in Minecraft. Cover, yeah. So I'll see where that goes. But I think having a story in your world is important, and I think that's the kind of thing that I will start to weave in here and there, especially as far as building an entire city goes. If I spend like a week or a month or however long building bits and pieces of a city, I'll probably start to form some sort of story in my own head, and whether or not I choose to share that or not through the videos is another thing. But I think I'll probably have some sort of sense of where everything should be myself.
Mm-hmm. I even think, as a player, it's beneficial to set up some sort of guidelines, even if it's just giving yourself like a general timeline of like when do I want to set this world? Like Minecraft with bows and arrows and swords kind of points itself into an older, time period. And if you don't want to do that and you want to stick strictly to something more modern or even more futuristic, and like not you specifically, but just kind of players in general, then I think that really goes a long way, especially for new players where you can just be like, okay, well, if it's all sci-fi, then I have to think about what I'm doing this way. But if it's all, medieval and ancient and the world is hundreds of thousands of years old, then I can think about something in a completely different way. And I think it influences your build. And as a professional artist, and in some cases I've had the role as art director, that is just so important to have that kind of like, even if it's just one sentence, that unifying vision. I just find it alleviates that, the block of like, I don't know what to do next, whereas if you've got this theme or this idea, then you really give yourself more inspiration, not less, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. And it'll be great to hear people's opinions about what they're going to do in 2019. Like, get in touch with us on email, talk to us in the Discord. We would love to hear from you guys. But I think that's our show for today. Going to wrap up another episode of The Spawn Chunks. You can find out more information about the show and links to some of the things we talked about today on thespawnchunks.com. The music for the show was composed by me, and The Spawn Chunks is proud to be a listener-supported podcast. If you get some value out of the show, if you've been enjoying listening to us, if you've been champing at the bit to hear a new episode for the new year, why not consider putting some value back into the show by supporting us on Patreon? At patreon.com/thespawnchunks, you can join our community, and pledging at any level will get you an invite to our patrons-only Discord chat and get us closer to our next goal, which is actually going to involve the patrons themselves. We plan to have a quarterly patron hangout where people can get involved chatting to us directly, discuss the direction of the show, and we can get some feedback from the people who support us. We currently have 45 patrons, which is absolutely fantastic. It's great to start the year with this much support, but there is always room for more.
Spreading the word about the show is one of the best ways that you can support us. It costs you nothing to just share the podcast with your friends. One of the easiest ways to do that is by sharing us on Twitter or Instagram. It's just The Spawn Chunks on both platforms. But a personal recommendation also goes a long way. That includes just, talking to your server mates, maybe posting on a forum or your own Discord. If you enjoy The Spawn Chunks, share us around. We're still growing, and we'd love to have more people coming into the fold. Or, people give me a hard time if I don't mention it. Poke a friend in the arm and tell them they should listen. You can contact the show at thespawnchunks@gmail.com. Let us know what you're doing for 2019 and what you think about Hytale and what you think about Minecraft Dungeons, because that stuff seems to be coming up super fast. You can subscribe on thespawnchunks.com. You can also find us on iTunes, Android, Stitcher, and Spotify. The RSS feed is on the website. The patron-only RSS feed is on the Patreon page, and that is the only place that you can listen to the render distance, which is the extended version of the podcast.
My name is Pixlriffs, and you can find most of what I do at youtube.com/pixlriffs, where I attempt to make sense of this crazy and wonderful game in a series called the Minecraft Survival Guide. I'm also the voice of the unofficial Hermitcraft recap, which you can find through a quick YouTube search. I stream 3 days a week on Twitch, where I play a variety of other games, and aside from that, I'm at Pixlriffs on both Twitter and Instagram. Joel, where can people find you online?
Everything that I am doing online is at joelduggan.com, including my illustration and design portfolio. If you are interested in hiring me, then just drop me a line. If you like this show, you may also like the Citadel Cafe or Comics Coast to Coast, 2 additional podcasts that I do. One is about sci-fi and geeky entertainment. The other one is an interview show about comic creators, illustrators, and animators. You can follow me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram with just my name, Joel Duggan. I released a new episode of The Realm of Vastin this morning, and it's pretty unique. The Realm of Vastin has a Dimensions sister server where a number of people from Fixit's Discord are building in a cloned copy of the World Seed. And so Fixit and I joined a couple of the creators over there to check out some of the builds. It's a 3-parter. I'm really excited about part 2, which is coming out soon. There was a huge build in the Nether. Like, it was mind-blowing. These folks have got so much time, it makes me jealous. But check it out. They're working really hard, and they're doing some really, really cool stuff. And that's over on my YouTube channel.
Thanks for visiting the Spawn Chunks. The world outside is infinite, and about 0.01% of the floor is lava.